decisions we make determine the action we take, and that literally determines our entire destiny. I need to figure out what is going on internally with my thoughts, with my beliefs, with my feelings, so I can make better decisions that help lead me down the pathways that I actually want to go down. Hello. I'm so excited you're here. In this episode, I really want to dive into something that is a life changer, I think. The thing I'm going to share is so simple, but what I'm talking about is currently shaping your entire life, the life you're living now. It's going to continue to shape your entire future. And it's something that we overlook consistently, so many of us. But once we start to recognize it, we can begin to transform every single area of our life. What I'm about to share with you, if you look at your life and you look at, for example, your health and wellness, you look at your relationships, you look at your business, you look at your money, you look at all of that stuff, this one thing that I'm about to share with you has impacted every single one of those areas. And I want to get into this because, we're all here to live our best lives. We're all here to create so much success. And this is a huge key that unlocks that pathway so that we can just get on and do it. And it is this. I once heard a quote by Tony Robbins. He said, "Your destiny is determined by the choices you make. Choose now, choose well." I remember hearing that quote many, many, many years ago. I was in a place where I felt frustrated. I'd been going around in circles, and it had been like that for about 3 years. And my anxiety was growing every single day because I felt this bubbling up inside that I wasn't doing what I wanted to be doing in life. I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. I felt really frustrated. I had started to get heart palpitations. I was just really, really stressed. And I remember a series of things happened, but one of those things was seeing that quote and realizing, oh my gosh, my destiny is determined by the choices I make. And then it kind of got me asking myself the question, what choices have I been making? And realizing that life is a series of decisions that we make. This really came to me in a really profound way recently. I was having a conversation with an old friend of mine that I went to school with, and we were catching up, and she'd bumped into some people that we went to school with, and people we haven't seen for years. I mean, I've not seen them for decades now. And she was filling me in on some of the things she found out. And one of the things was that someone we went to school with had ended up having a really, really tough time. So they had ended up struggling with drugs, they had lost everything, and they were back living with their parents. And as she was telling me the story, it made me think how fascinating it is that life is a series of decisions that we choose to make. And sometimes those decisions are really hard. And sometimes things happen to us, external circumstances happen that are really hard for us to navigate and deal with. And the decisions we choose to make in all areas of life, based on every single thing that happens to us, it impacts our future. And, I remember reading this book called A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And there's this quote in it, he says, which has been one of the most empowering quotes I've ever lived, that I live my life by now. Everything in life can be taken away from you, except for your freedom to choose how you respond. And so if we think about that, and we think about how life is a series of decisions that we're making, and if you stop right now and you look at your life and you think of every area, for example, you think about your business, you think about your success, you think about your wealth, your finances, your money situation, you think about your relationships, your family, you think about your health and wellness stuff. I already said that, I'm not even sure. But you think about all these different areas of life, basically, and you ask yourself, am I happy with where I'm at? Is it good? Do I feel good? Do I feel really proud of the progress I've made? Do I feel frustrated in these areas? Do I feel like I'm just not where I want to be at? What is going on? So almost like go through each area and rate yourself. Rate each area out of 0 to 10, 0 being this is just absolutely 100 million% not where I want it to be. 10 is this is blooming amazing and I envisioned being at this point and it is now my reality. So go through and score yourself and then ask yourself the question, what decisions did I make in order to get myself to this point? Wherever it is you're at, whether it's a good score or a bad score, what choices did I make in order to get there? And for me, this is such a profound exercise, because then you realize that, like choices I made 5 years ago, 10 years ago have impacted what my life looks like today. Decisions I made 6 months ago, a year ago have impacted what my life looks like today. And when we realize that, we either thank our past self or we're like, oh, that's annoying. Why did I do that? Why did I make that decision? And I don't think anyone makes perfect decisions all the time. And, that's not what this is about. But once I realized, if I can figure out how to make better decisions, I can create a better life for myself. So back over a decade ago now, when I kind of like had this shift, and you probably heard me read, talk about this on my podcast or in my book about how I did this mission success challenge for myself to be like, how can I change? And it was really about how can I change? Because I realized my life is not going to change unless I change. And that was really about looking at how can I make better decisions? And we make our decisions based on the thoughts we're thinking, the things we're feeling. And then because of that, those determine the decisions we make, and the decisions we make determine the action we take. And that literally determines our entire destiny. And so I realized I need to figure out what is going on internally with my thoughts, with my beliefs, with my feelings, so that I can start to flip the switch on those things so I can make better decisions that help me to take better action, that help lead me down the pathways that I actually want to go down. And once I did that, the pathways began to unfold that I actually wanted to walk down, and I stopped going around in circles thinking, I don't know what to do, I feel stuck. And I started to think about actually what tiny step could I take today. And so for me back then, it was trying to build the Female Entrepreneur Association and trying to get out my own way with all my imposter syndrome and feeling like a fraud and all that kind of stuff, and just get on and blum and do it. And so I started to take that action, and I will say there is a lag time between when we make a decision to step into a new version of ourselves. So for example, for me, I think of it kind of a bit like, I was talking about this recently, old Carrie versus successful Carrie. I think we all have different versions of ourselves. And I think that, there's a healthy version of yourself, there's an unhealthy version of yourself, there's a successful version of you, there's an unsuccessful version of you, there's a wealthy version of you, there's a broke version of you. And the thing that determines which version of yourself you are is like, how are you showing up? How are you making decisions? What choices are you making that are leading you to take the action that you're taking that's ultimately delivering the outcome in your life? What is that? What is actually going on? And so for me, really kind of getting clarity and perspective on that really helped me to have massive breakthroughs and achieve success after success after success after success. And I think that this is so simple, but so profound. And so my question to you is, how have you been showing up? What choices have you been making? And if you look at them for a second, have they been good choices or have they been bad choices? Have they been okay choices? Yeah, I'm just floating, I'm coasting. What choices have you been making? And I find that sometimes this is a bit brutal, let's be honest, it's brutal. But I feel it's the same for myself. For example, recently, from like a health perspective, I just knew that I needed to make changes. And then I look back and I was just like, I wasn't making good decisions. I wasn't making decisions to be the healthiest version of me. And sometimes, for example, we need a bit of a wake-up call. I got pneumonia, and then I was like, what the hell is going on? Last year, a series of things happened. The year before that, my appendix burst. So for me, I've had these little nudges and little wake-up calls to be like, start paying attention to this, start paying attention to this. And I was making these decisions, and I was just choosing to ignore it. And sometimes we make poor decisions because out of ignorance, because we don't know. I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily, but like I was making a lot of poor health decisions because I didn't know any better, because I didn't educate myself to get better. And so this year, for example, I went on Tony Robbins' Life Mastery program, and I started to work with a functional medicine practitioner, and I started to work with a Chinese medicine practitioner. And through working with these people, I was able to educate myself better and understand more. And then from doing that, I was able to start making better choices that have completely changed my life from like a health perspective, and the decisions I'm making to try and be a more healthy version of myself. And so in order to sometimes to make good decisions, we have to have the desire to want to make a change. Like, I wanted to make a change from a health perspective. I really wanted to make a change. So for example, if you bring it back to your business, you might really, really want to build a successful business, which is amazing that you really, really want to build a successful business. But you might not be equipped with the knowledge to make the best decisions as to how to actually build that business. Like for me, and we've all got gaps, don't get me wrong, but like for me, for example, with the health stuff, I had a gap. For me, I've got gaps at the moment. For example, like I really want to be more intentional about like investing in wealth, and like, yes, I have like some investments and some little things, but like I am absolutely no expert in that area. I feel my knowledge is severely lacking. Oh, and so I recently did Wealth Mastery, which is another Tony Robbins program. I'm selling all those programs here, but I do things when I realize I need to improve an area of my life. I know I have to equip myself with the knowledge so that I can make better decisions, because the saying, knowledge is power, but knowledge is only power if you actually do something with that knowledge. And so for me, when I know I want to kind of change an area of my life, so for you, for example, maybe you really want to build a wildly successful business. And if you look at your business right now, or you look at, for example, the money that you've got flowing in right now, and you ask yourself, is this good or is it not good? Is it where I want to be or is it not where I want to be? And what decisions have got me to this place? And then look at, okay, how do I need to start changing the way I'm making decisions in order to get to the next place that I really want to get to? And what knowledge do I need to equip myself with? What do I need to know? What do I need to learn? What do I need? Yeah, how do I need to empower myself in that way so that I can make the best decisions possible, so that I can create the future I want to create? I always think, and I always say this, success does not happen by accident. It happens because we make it happen on purpose. And you know what? It actually happens because we make decisions and we take action so that we actually create the success that we want to create. And that means, one, we have to know what success means. We have to know where it is we're actually trying to get to, what that future is that we want. Because if we don't know what that future looks like for ourselves, and blooming heck, any road's going to take us anywhere, isn't it? It doesn't really matter. So you have to know what is that end goal, that end destination. And then once you know what that goal is, what that destination is, then working backwards from that and thinking, okay, if I want to get there, if I want to be a millionaire, if I want to make 10,000 a month, what decisions do I need to make in order to be able to get there? So for example, let's specifically look at the 10K piece. Let's say you want to build a business, you want to get to consistent 10K months. Well, there's really a handful of things you have to actually get right in order to get there. One, you have to have a product that, a really great product to sell. Two, you have to get people to buy that really, really great product, that really great offer, whatever it is. And three, you need to be able to automate as much as possible so that this is scalable, because creating that 10K month or even beyond that is about consistency. And a way to be consistent is to automate as much as possible so that you are consistent on autopilot, which doesn't mean you're not going to put the work in and the effort in. You are, but you want to be able to automate as much as possible. So those are three really simple things that you could go and learn how to do so that you can actually create the success that you want. I think I will create another episode on this, and I've got some amazing resources and things going on that are related to this. So I will leave all the links in the show notes if you want to dive deeper specifically into that 10K piece. But can you see how, in order to create consistent 10K months, you have to make it happen on purpose? So you've got the goal to get there, amazing. And then right, I need to have something amazing to sell. I need to get amazing people to buy, and I'm going to make them really happy. And I need to be doing those things consistently so that I can actually scale and get to that goal. And so then you can be like, well, what do I need to specifically learn so I can do those things? Where can I learn this information? And then taking action consistently. There's a quote that says, repetition is the mother of all skill. And it really is, because when we're learning and we can go and repeat something over and over and over and over and over again, we get better at it and better at it and better at it. And I mean, that is a good decision for us to make. So, like if you want to get to, any area of your life, you want to be healthy, you want to be successful, start to do things on rinse and repeat that you know are going to help get you in the direction of where you're trying to get to. One of the other big things that I will say that is important to talk about here is so often we want something and we really want to make it happen, but then we deliberately don't take the action that we know we need to take. So you might want to have a really successful business. You might want to have a business that makes you 10K a month or 100K a month, whatever it is, but you consistently do not take the action that you know is going to help get you there. I mean, I think we've all been in this place. I know I have been there many, many times. It's like, I want to be fit and healthy. Go to the gym. No, I can't go to the gym. I don't have the time to go to the gym. When I'm going to fit it in the day? I've got so many things going on. I can't do it. Oh my gosh, the number of times I've made up that excuse to myself, I drive myself crazy. But the reality is, if you want something and it's important to you, we have to find a way to get out of our own way to show up and do the thing. And sometimes that feels so impossible because we have literally got ourselves to a position where we believe that, for example, we really genuinely don't have the time. And for some of us, or for some people, especially let's talk about business here, with people who have jobs and families and they're spinning a million plates, it really can be challenging to figure out when on earth there is going to be the time to do anything. But the thing I've realized is, what do you want your future to look like? What do you want? And I think it's so important to get really kind of I don't know why this word's popping into my head, but aggressive with ourselves, aggressive with this. Get aggressive with your dreams, with what you want. Fight for them. Fight to make them happen, because you only live one life. We do not get to redo this. You don't get to the end of it all and think, oh God, I wish I made better decisions. Because how awful is that going to be if you got to the end of it and you were like, oh shit, I wish I had made better decisions. No. Absolutely not. Let's not make that happen. And let's not make that happen by choosing right now and reminding ourselves of this all the time. I remind myself of this all the time, by the way, that we've got to make better decisions today. And that means we have to stop with the excuses and with the lies we tell ourselves, and sometimes the genuinely just the real truth of the struggles and the challenges that we actually are genuinely facing, and asking ourselves, how can we get around this? What could be something that could help me to navigate this so that I can figure out a way to show up and do the things I need to do in order to create the success I want to create? Or maybe it's knowing that it's going to take a little bit longer. This is not going to be perfect. But it's just coming back to that thing of, what is it that you want, and deciding that you're going to make it happen. Because how many times have you heard people say, or how many times have you yourself been like, I want this, I want this, I want this. But every day you're not showing up and taking it. You're not doing the things that to take it off the table for yourself. And then every day you feel frustrated, you feel unaccomplished, you feel unfulfilled, you feel rubbish about what you've done because you haven't taken the right steps, and it's infuriating. I say that from a place of, I've been there so many blooming times, and I'm sure that I'll be there again at some point in the future too. This is a recurring cycle that we all go through because we are all human at the end of the day. But I think for me, the more I come back to that question of, taking that time to review what I'm doing, and am I making good decisions? Am I on track? Do I even know where I'm trying to get to? And do I have a plan to help get me there? Am I learning the things I need to be learning so that I can equip myself with the knowledge so that I can actually make decisions that are going to get me there? And am I showing up and taking those action steps? Yes or no? And if I'm not, I need to dissect it and figure out what the heck is going on so I can get out of my own way. And that is why I always work with coaches and mentors, and I listen to podcasts and I read books and I take courses and I'm in all sorts of different masterminds, and I invest in myself. And I have always invested in myself, even when it was just starting off and I had basically nothing. I have always done that because it's through doing that I get to arm myself with that information so that I can make better decisions. You get my point. But this is the key. If you want to improve any area of your life, if you want to, like I said, if you want to be a millionaire, you want to have 10K months, you want to be wealthy, you want to have amazing health and be as healthy as you can, you can choose to make decisions that are going to help you to get there or give you the best chance at it. And And the thing is, if you show up and you let's take health, for example. If you show up and you exercise and you eat well and you, for example, work with a functional medicine person and you take supplements and you look after yourself, like you will be as healthy as you can possibly make yourself. Let's add in maybe dealing with stress and all that other stuff. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But does it mean that nothing's ever going to happen to you? Absolutely not. But it means that you are equipping yourself with the best chance. And it's the same in business. Like, you don't know what roadblocks are going to come up. You don't know what things are going to come and derail you. You don't know when a pandemic's going to happen, or a government's going to change or a war's going to break out that's going to bring absolute chaos. Like, none of us know when that stuff's going to happen. And that's when I come back to that Viktor Frankl quote of that whole saying of everything in life can be taken away from you except for your freedom to choose how you respond. But when we are showing up to be the best version of ourselves, when you're showing up to be successful you, healthy you, whatever it is like that's important for you right now, but when you are showing up to be that version of yourself, you're setting yourself up for so much more success. Isn't that what this is about? So I think that I just wanted to share this and talk about this because it's so simple, isn't it? I mean, it's so simple, but at times very difficult, because sometimes we really want to take the good action steps and there's resistance and resistance and resistance. And then you have to ask yourself, why is there resistance? And one of the little things that I do is I think about the future. And I think, when I'm 80, when I'm 90 or whatever, what would I say? What decision would I say? What decision would I make? How would I kick myself up the backside? What advice would I give to myself today as 80-year-old, 90-year-old me? What advice would I give myself? And so often doing that, it just puts everything into perspective. And it makes me think, just blooming do it, or whatever it is that's going on. But it makes me realise that sometimes making the best decisions, it's hard. It takes a lot of courage and requires us to be so brave and gutsy, and that is terrifying at times. But do you want to get to the end of it all and think, oh my gosh, I wish I could just go back and make a better decision. I wish I could go back and just give myself a little bit more courage. No, we don't want that. So how could you pour more courage into yourself right now? I mean, and that is another episode for another time, because again, courage is something that none of us are born with. It's something that we have to practice. And if you are out of practice with being courageous, you have to get into the practice of just being courageous, because it's one of those things, is just, you have to practice it. And if you're out of practice, it's flipping scary. And you can put yourself off everything and anything. So yes, just a little reminder today of what choices are you making? Do you feel like you're making good choices? Do you feel like you're making choices that are leading you in the right direction? Do you feel like you're making some not good choices? What needs to change? What do you want to change? How can you what does the most successful version of you, what decisions does that person make? How does that person show up? What knowledge does that person have? What knowledge do you need to equip yourself with? What do you need to learn? What do you need to know about, so that you can make the best decisions, so that you can live the life that you want to live? And everything that you need to know is at your fingertips. You've got access to so much information online now. We all do. It's all out there. There are so many different courses and programs and books and podcasts and all that stuff that can help. So immerse yourself in the things that you need to know, so that you can make the best decisions. And the other thing that I will say is, I know I mentioned this in a previous episode, listen to yourself as well. Don't just blindly follow what someone else is telling you, especially if your internal feeling is like alarm bells ringing. No, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Like, pay attention to yourself, trust yourself. And the more you kind of take time to listen to how you feel, listen and check in with yourself and connect, the stronger that voice will get. And I just think that is also the voice that you really need to follow. But that is a complete side conversation from this in terms of listening to your intuition. In fact, I will link the episode I shared on this recently on intuition, because if you want to just dive deeper into that, because in all of this, you have to trust yourself. And that can be a really hard thing to do, but we have to trust ourselves to make the best decisions for ourselves. And the final thing I will say is, we do have to give ourselves grace, because this isn't about perfection. We all make silly decisions. We all mess up. We all do, every single one of us. And that is life. But it's looking at, on balance, are we making good decisions or are we making not so good decisions? and then just course correcting. And I think that's all we can really ask of ourselves in this crazy, fun, wild, messy, amazing life that we lead. So I hope that this has given you some things to think about. As always, if you have enjoyed this episode, please take a little screenshot of listening to it or watching this and tag me on Instagram at I am Carrie Green. Share your takeaways or what you've enjoyed about it. I always love resharing and reposting and just seeing your thoughts of things. Also, if you enjoy listening to this as well, I would absolutely love it if you could spare a moment and leave me a review over on Apple Podcasts, because it helps to get the podcast out to more people. So I'd be so grateful. But I really hope you've enjoyed this, and go make good decisions. Let's all commit to making good decisions. I am with you on this as well, because I am by no means perfect at this stuff, and I remind myself of that, of what I've just shared all the time. But yes, let's go make some good decisions together, and I will see you next time for another episode of the She Means Business Show.